and welcome to the Autocar show from Thailand. Today with us on the show is Chevy's new Trailblazer. It's big, heavy, rugged SUV. Now this SUV goes up against competition like the Fortuner and the Endeavour. These cars are pretty popular in India and Chevy is hoping this new car will make a difference. With the lines between traditional SUVs and their car-based lookalikes blurring today, it's really difficult to tell which is which. The Trailblazer, however, is a proper SUV. Built on a light truck frame like the Toyota Fortuner and the Ford Endeavour, it's what is known as a body-on-frame SUV. There isn't too much cladding around, there isn't too much SUV sort of styling. It's more soft-roader, and these modern lines, they're more curves than hard right angles. If you come to the front, you also see Chevy's traditional two-part grille, and of course, these really sharp-looking modern Chevy headlights. While it's a hardcore SUV under the skin, the look is a bit softer, so it can appeal to a wider audience. What I also find appealing are the cuts and the slashes along the flanks. The wide shoulders give it the look of a tough SUV, and the nicely tucked-in cabin looks pretty good too. The wraparound rear, however, is a bit too Fortuner-like, and I wish the Trailblazer had a bit more individuality and character. The Trailblazer may not be sold in America, but it certainly feels like it's built for XXL size American frames. Now the Trailblazer feels nice and airy on the inside. There's a lot of width, and Chevy used a bit of their sports car styling as well. This instrument cluster and steering wheel are reminiscent of the Camaro. It's got these square sort of surrounds with the sunken dials, and the 3-spoke steering, that's pretty sporty. Also nice are the front seats. They feel large and are supportive around the shoulders. And getting comfortable behind the wheel is relatively easy as well. The dash and the interiors are a bit of a mixed bag. Some of the plastics here feel like they should have been a bit better built. The texture isn't too great in some areas, and there are a few shiny bits too. This Chevy also probably has what is the best second row of them all. The back seat is pretty comfortable. There's a good amount of headroom. You're not sat too low. Nice back support, and there's even plenty of knee and foot room here. Pretty nice. There's even just about enough place for a third passenger. On the other hand, the window line tends to rise a bit, but it's still airy enough on the second row. And the Chevy scores well for comfort on the third row too. It's surprisingly comfortable and pretty usable. Look at that. The Trailblazer is likely to be pretty well loaded. The top of the line LTZ1 is likely to come to India with LED lights, unlike the ones on this car. It will get Chevy's MyLink touchscreen system, GPS, an essential rear view camera, shift on the fly for the 4-wheel drive system, and also, of course, a low range. You'll also get hill descent control, hill start assist, ABS, brake assist, cornering brake control, traction control, and ESP, also known as stability control. So in terms of safety and stability technology, the Trailblazer is right up there with many luxury SUVs. While the Trailblazer may have a smaller engine than the Toyota Fortuner, 2.8 liters versus 3, the interesting bit is that it has loads more punch. This is because the motor makes a very strong 50 kgm of torque in comparison to the Fortuner's 36, and the Chevy engine has plenty of extra power too. It's pretty nice when you want to really cruise, because at around 2000 RPM there isn't really too much engine noise and it pulls along pretty nicely. What's also nice is that a mere tap on the accelerator drops you a gear and gets you a nice shot of torque. GM's new 2.8-litre diesel uses technology to attain higher levels of efficiency. It uses a new water-cooled variable geometry turbo, a new exhaust system, and a new engine head as well. Common rail pressure for the diesel engine has also been significantly stepped up. It now runs at a considerably high 2000 bar for better responses. This 2.8-litre engine makes around 200 horsepower. Of course, you can't feel it because of the weight of the car, but it is reasonably smooth and acceleration is pretty strong. It isn't quick by any means, but there's enough grunt here to keep you satisfied. It does get a bit growly and there is a bit of rattle after 3000 RPM, but that's only to be expected. Still, the 6-speed automatic gearbox does a fair job of keeping the engine in the power band. You don't get paddles behind the steering wheel, but you do get this Tiptronic feature. It's nowhere as quick as something like a DSG box, but with 6 ratios and the box obeying your every command, it's pretty nice to use. I'm also particularly impressed with how well the Chevy rides. There is a bit of stiffness in the suspension, and as a result, big bumps will set it off a bit, but in general, ride is pretty good. It takes the normal bumps pretty impressively, and the nice thing is there is a bit of pliancy in the suspension. It's not all hard. Yes, there is a thud at times and a bit of wheel tramp and axle shimmy too. But overall, the primary ride of the Trailblazer is so good, it feels more like a soft-roader than a heavy, chassis-bearing SUV that it is. It isn't too bad around the corners either. Yes, there's a lot of bulk and it tends to roll a bit, but the steering gives you a lot of confidence. What's also impressive is that even when the road is a bit bumpy, the car doesn't get led astray. There's no tram lining, it tracks straight. All you need to do really is point it in the general direction and it just goes. Stability at high speed is pretty impressive too. There's no vagueness from the steering and it feels pretty planted for something that has a massive 231 millimeters of ground clearance. The steering is a bit heavy, so in traffic you do have to put a bit extra effort. But this pays dividends out on the highway, where you do get a bit more of that steering feel. Summing up the Trailblazer is really easy. It's a great all-rounder. It does most things pretty well. It's got a lot of space on the inside, the seats are really comfortable, it's got a strong diesel engine which is pretty refined. The 6-speed automatic works well enough and it even looks pretty attractive. Question is, where will it stand in comparison to its competition? The Fortuner is no pushover, and with the new Endeavour coming, this car really has to be good. But Chevy are going to import this car, which means a price of upwards of 25 lakhs. So if you really want to know where the Trailblazer stands in comparison to the Fortuner and its rivals, you'll have to just wait till we get all these cars on the same piece of road in India and do one of our famous comparisons.